Hey y'all, we just fished Clear Lake for crappie this time. And we were out there February 17th in the rain, before the wind, and a lot of wind. And we basically went crappie fishing on purpose. I put it up on Instagram if people wanted Berryessa bass, Berryessa crappie, or Clear Lake crappie, and Clear Lake crappie was number 2, Berryessa was number 1. If you want to know how my Berryessa bass was, tune into my Instagram stories. I'll have an update on that. So, crappie. We actually started right by the ramp.
Yeah.
We didn't even get very far.
We didn't leave. We were right there.
Yeah, we didn't even fire up the ramp. Would be Clear Lake Oaks.
Yep.
The Rattlesnake Arm. Dropped the trolling motor in right away. Went to the first dock, as you could see in the background, and started picking off fish. What I started off with, actually kind of what I fished the whole time with, was this little bad boy right here. And what this is a Big Bites Baits in the pink. This is 1/8 ounce. And the Bobby Garland albino shad. I don't know why I looked, because I knew that name already. That's what I started off with, and I just basically pitched this up underneath the docks, and basically was slow rolling it, either slow rolling it, kind of hovering it up there, or little shakes. And was picking them off inside there. You were throwing a little bit different. What were you throwing?
I started off with the Mega Bass 110 Junior +1 in the threadfin shad, throwing around that dock area. But looking at forward scan, the fish were up underneath the dock, and I could not shoot the jerk bait underneath there. So I went to another bobby, or a little jig head big bite baits, jig head in the white with red eyes. The only reason I went to this color was because James was throwing the pink, and if we're gonna do a video, why not give you some different flavors of colors, right? I originally went with the, I think this is pink lemonade, right? Because it was overcast. It was, you know, a little bit of stain to the water, not much. So I went with that. James started catching fish more than I was. So I changed colors, and I went to another color threadfin shad. And it's a little more natural of a bait. And I immediately started catching fish. And they were chewing on it underneath that dock. Like,
yeah.
I think one of them that I caught was like a 2.7 or
2 1/4, 2.3, 2 point something like that.
Yeah, it was a pretty good fish. Yeah. I hung one underneath the dock. But yeah, no, they were definitely chewing underneath that dock.
Yeah, they were in the darkest of shadows, as crappie usually do. They were definitely, the biggest school was tucked up underneath there in the darkest of shadows, even with the overcast and the rain going. And then after that, we actually started going down the bank, and there's just roaming schools of crappie, just pods of them that are basically just following the contours, wrapping around. And then you would see that school mix in underneath the next dock. You see the schools kind of come together, and then they'd mingle around in there for a little bit, and then they would leave there again. And then another pod would break off and keep going down the bank, and you could like push them with the boat. Again, I was throwing that same little thing, just targeting those schools, just pitching out in front. And I could get a couple to go. Yeah. He was more successful throwing a jerk bait though.
Yeah, again, I picked up that 110 Junior Mega Bass +1 in the threadfin shad, and you know, it's a blast catching crappie on jerk baits and watching them on forward scan come running up at it and dancing with it. So I caught a couple with this color, and then they weren't committing as well as what they were. So I was like, man, I should probably go to the color that we usually catch the crappie on, and that is that
Cherry spawn.
Cherry spawn, yeah. That cherry spawn jerkbait, which is a Megabass 110 plus 1.
Junior.
The junior. And immediately I started picking up fish again with it. Just a fun bite.
Yeah, which makes sense. They both kind of have that, like what I was throwing and what he's got, kind of get that pink hue to it. Yeah. Pinkish, whitish.
There was another spot where we got into, which was another dock. And they're up really tight to the dock, and it was one of those docks that there's no way you could throw underneath it.
Yeah, it was low enough.
Yeah, it was low enough. You can't throw underneath it, so you're throwing as tight as you can to it. And James was picking up more fish with his, the pink head with that albino body, that pink albino, whatever it's called.
Albino shad.
Albino shad. So I was like, okay, well, he's picking up more fish doing that. I'm going to pick up that same color of worm. But the difference is mine with the white head looked almost all white. It didn't have any pink. And with his, it looks way more pink than what mine did. I did pick up some more fish with this. I actually had one that completely like choked this.
Yeah.
It was way down there. I had to use pliers to get it out. These hooks work pretty well. They do bend out.
Yeah, if you're a bass fisherman like we are and you roughhouse with them, you can bend them out. Like they don't bend out straight, but they'll actually mangle while you're trying to get the hooks out of the fish.
Yeah, but catching crappie, we're able to just bend it back where it look more like it's supposed to, and go right back at it, and we continue to catch fish. I don't think I lost one.
No, and we had some from pitching up underneath the docks with throwing light line and us really not being used to throwing stuff like this. Our heads had some war paint marks on them from chipped off head, chipped off paint.
Yeah, we were taking paint right off
like
there.
Flat spots in the head and stuff just from hitting the posts as we were throwing up underneath.
But realistically, all these fish, there's a ton of crappie over there in the Rattlesnake Arm, and they're at the docks, they're up at the shore, they're out deeper, they're cruising around.
Yeah, we actually went down farther into the Rattlesnake area. We went around in the back, like mouth of the Keys. There's pods in there. Then we came back out towards Rattlesnake Island, and there's pods out there. That was actually in between the island and the point, and like that pole and that point. There was actually some pretty good schools out there of them.
Big schools.
So they were down a little bit more than they were over on the other side, but there definitely was schools all around there. Like you could launch out of Clear Lake Oaks and never fire your big motor up and just motorboat around there with an electric motor and definitely be picking up fish.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of crappie there. I couldn't even tell you how many we caught. And there are some good slabs there, right?
Yeah, like we didn't spend a whole lot of time on that. We switched to bass fishing to pre-fish for a tournament, and we definitely caught a whole bunch, enough to like kind of get our fill, basically.
Yeah. Definitely.
In years past, there's been big schools of crappie that are circulating through that cove. There wasn't, like, although they were good-sized schools, they weren't as big as I've seen in the past, and I'm guessing it's because they have a lot more water and they're a lot more spread out. They're not as corralled.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely, as you go towards the Keys, they were still there. We did not go into the Keys, but I do know around this time of the year is when they pull into the Keys, so don't be afraid to try it in there.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think our overall winners for baits was the pinkhead albino shad, and then his pink jerkbait.
Yep.
The cherry spawn. Those are probably the two most productive for that.
Yep. We really don't have any other crappie baits to.
Yeah, realistically, we kept it simple. We don't usually target crappie, but it's really fun to do on forward scan.
Yeah, especially when bass fishing slow.
Yeah, especially when the bass fishing slow, and it's just nice to get a change of pace. I did actually hear a new name for hover strolling today, and they call it cricket tickling.
Oh.
So basically, if you want to know what we were doing, we were cricket tickling a Bobby Garland bait. So from now on, I'm going to call it cricket tickling.
Nice.
I think is that it? Was there anything else we missed? Yeah, we did search around other areas, but pretty much it's right there in that Rattlesnake Arm. If you have any questions, comment down below. If you, you could also hit me up on Instagram with any questions. And until next time, I hope you get them.